Hello, my name is Courtney Allen. I am the founder and currently serving as the Volunteer Executive Director of James Place. Today I'm going to talk to you about a proposal for expansion and funding of recovery housing in Kennebec County. Substance use disorder and the effects cross every economic, social, cultural, and educational bracket. It's wreaked havoc on families across the state and the nation. The main drug death report shows that for 2017 there were 418 drug fatalities in Maine. Of those fatalities, 47 people from Kennebec County died, and those numbers have continued to skyrocket in 2018. James Place currently operates the only recovery housing in Kennebec County open to the public. Due to the high demand, there is a shortage of beds, and on any given day, the program maintains a wait list of 20 people. The wait can stretch from days to 6 months. For people who cannot wait up to 6 months, volunteers often only have one option: connect them with the local rooming house. This is because the rooming houses are the only other location in town that will accept weekly general assistance vouchers and not charge a security deposit. People who are released from incarceration, treatment centers, and detox are often left with only one option: to rent a room there. It is located in the middle of the most drug-exposed neighborhood in the community and does not support the recovery process in any way. To the contrary, it actively encourages alcohol and drug use. Research has shown a direct correlation between the rates of fatal overdose and living environments that do not support recovery. James Reynolds was a person in recovery who was part of a close group focused on helping others. By being brutally honest, he was able to reach people in an authentic way. He believed that all people deserve access to necessary resources to recover. In 2017, James passed away as a result of a medical condition. To honor his memory, an effort was initiated to provide recovery housing in the Augusta area by subletting an apartment and providing supports. A few of James' cohorts moved 3 twin-size beds, an old couch, and a few chairs into a small 3-bedroom apartment. The group of volunteers began with only $20 and a landlord who wanted to try something different. Since that time, the organization has expanded to 2 separate residences supporting 14 individuals in their recovery journey, and has transitioned into a 501c3 nonprofit organization with a full board of directors and received certification from the Maine Association of Recovery Residences. In 2018, the first year of operation, James Place housed 35 guests who self-identify as in or seeking recovery from substance use. Of those guests, 40% were female and 60% were male. 54% of them were criminal justice involved, and 72% of the total guests fell below the poverty line and received a 1-week scholarship from either James Place, a local church, or general assistance to cover rental expenses at the time of move-in. This is because James Place mission is to provide low barrier and low cost, safe and stable housing to all people in or seeking recovery from substance use, regardless of their ability to pay. The organization has been operated solely by people in long-term recovery and recovery allies collaborating on a volunteer basis to make the initiative possible. Thousands of hours of manpower have been poured into grassroots fundraising, daily management of the houses, and the intake and support of guests. Because James Place is not merely a place to stay, it is a starting point for building a new life. Volunteers are present for the people who stay. They support guests in making connections, finding work, completing life tasks, meeting court requirements, connecting with their children, finding any resource they need, and having fun. They host community events and volunteer days with guests, have breakfast at local restaurants, attend treatment graduations together, and more. They also administrate drug screens, enforce rules, ask people to leave when they cannot meet the requirements of the house, and other tasks that are not fun but are necessary. Additionally, the guests themselves have proven to be resources for each other and giving back to the community. James Place would not be able to have flourished the way that it has without the support of their community. Fresh Starts and community members have supplied all household items at no cost. Small business owners like College Carryout have organized successful fundraisers. State representatives and senators like Representative Fecto and Matt Pouliot and dedicated board members have donated their time, financial support, and voices to the cause. Landlords have waived security deposit and offered their properties to James Place at discounted rates. The organization's primary purpose is to provide recovery-oriented housing that is peer-run, where people in recovery from substance use live in single or shared bedrooms with common living areas. It's centered on peer support and connections to services which promote sustained recovery from substance use. The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration defines recovery as a process of change through which people improve their health and wellness, live a self-directed life, and strive to reach their full potential. Recovery residences support all major pillars of a recovery process: health, home, purpose, and community. We do this through the requirements of our houses. Every guest is expected to remain abstinent from all substances not prescribed by a doctor, attend outpatient treatment in the community, work, volunteer, or attend a higher education 20 hours a week, participate in pro-social meetings at least 4 times a week, submit to drug and alcohol testing and medication counts, attend mandatory weekly house meetings, and participate in coordinated volunteer days in the community. Each guest is also expected to pay $150 a week to help sustain the program. But when unable to afford this expense, they are provided with community resources. General Assistance is a program through the City of Augusta that helps eligible people with current basic needs such as rent. In addition to general assistance, guests are supported by local church and other community organizations. James Place currently receives no grants or government funding at this time. The program expects to become eligible for government funding soon and has submitted 2 grant applications. Houses have proven to be nearly self-sustaining after an initial opening phase of 3 months, but this is without any staff expenses. Currently, the Augusta Women's House provides housing to 6 women plus a house manager. The Augusta Men's House also provides housing to 6 men plus a house manager. One of the questions I receive on a regular basis is if recovery housing makes a difference. The short answer is yes. The long answer follows. James Place uses the Recovery Capital Score to measure recovery capital at the time of intake and every 30 days following. Recovery capital is the volume of internal and external assets that can be brought to bear to initiate and sustain long-term recovery from alcohol and other drugs. The higher a person's score is, the more likely they are to sustain recovery. Recovery capital is expected to differ from individual to individual and even differ within the same individual during different points in the process. The goal of the organization is to increase recovery capital in guests during the time of their stay. A statistical project was conducted to consider if there is a difference in a person's intake score and their 30-day score. It appeared to the volunteers that a person who resides at James Place for 30 days experiences an increase in recovery capital scores. The data collection tool used was the Recovery Capital Scale. It's a 35-question questionnaire scored on a scale of 1 to 5. Scores can range from 35 to 175. The hypothesis of this study was that the null hypothesis is that there is no difference in recovery capital scores after 30 days in James Place. The alternative hypothesis, which we're trying to prove, is that there is an increase in recovery capital scores after 30 days in James Place. So, 14 guests self-administrated the questionnaire between December of 2018 and April of 2019 at intake and every 30 days following. 6 of these guests had just been released from incarceration, 3 from homelessness, 2 had been released from inpatient treatment, and 3 had been staying with friends or family directly prior to intake. Of those 14 guests who completed the intake and the 30-day questionnaire, the mean intake score was 111.36. The mean 30-day score was 138.93. This shows a mean increase in recovery capital of 27.57 points during the first 30 days at James Place. This graph shows the raw data from the study. This graph seems to indicate that a person experiences an increase in recovery capital scores at James Place. But in order to see if the null hypothesis could be rejected, a t-score needs to be used, with alpha 0.01. Data points for before were entered into list 1. Data points for after 30 days were listed in list 2. The difference of the data was calculated into list 3. List 3 will be used in the t-test. The result of the t-test showed that the p-value for this test calculated to be 0.000592. And because p is less than alpha of 0.01, we reject the null hypothesis that there is no difference in recovery capital scores after 30 days in James Place, and accept the alternative hypothesis that there is an increase in recovery capital scores after 30 days. So back to that very simple answer, the answer is yes. The people that stay at James Place are statistically different with only 30 days in the house. People are getting better. As of March of 2019, there are 91 recovery residences operating across the state. The houses are disproportionately located within Cumberland County, with only a handful scattered across 6 other counties. And despite extensive research showing that living environments supportive of recovery are associated with better outcomes, recovery residences in rural communities have been largely overlooked by policymakers, grant writers, and the community as a viable part of the solution to curbing substance use in Maine. To address the dire gap in recovery housing in Kennebec County and the 20-person wait list, James Place has secured a new location in Waterville, Maine. The house is a beautiful 3-story building with 12 single-occupancy rooms, 2 living rooms, 3 bathrooms, a large backyard, and a garage. Upon completion of renovations specially tailored to meet James Place needs, the house will be available to move in on or around June 1st. Based on the history of starting our other houses, James Place will need to fundraise $12,740. This money will cover the expenses of 2 months of rent on the 12-bedroom house to provide recovery housing to 11 men plus a house manager, as well as hiring and paying 2 months' salary for a house manager to oversee the daily operations of the house, including conducting recovery capital assessments with guests and connecting guests to the services needed as outlined in the recovery capital assessment, drug screening guests twice a week, and monitoring adherence to house rules. James Place will also hire and pay 2 months' salary for an executive director to oversee all programs and the strategic plan for James Place, and market the organization, engage volunteers and community stakeholders in the mission, and adhere to all future grant requirements. James Place will also purchase 11 lock boxes to secure medication and personal items of guests, as well as purchase a security system to monitor the house. Fresh Starts has agreed to partner with James's Place to host a community drive to furnish the new house. All the items listed on the slide will be needed to open our house. There will be a future date listed for community members to donate these items.
My name is Brandon Arnold. I am 37 years old from Augusta, Maine. I am a person in recovery and currently living at James Place. I have been living here since February 7, 2019. The day this journey started, I was lost, I was homeless, broken, confused, lonely, and had little if any motivation to correct my way of living. Basically, I was ready to continue on my path of self-sabotage and destruction. I had just left a 45-day residential rehab I did not like. I had no plan that morning as to what I was going to do when I got dropped off at the Concord bus station. I had nothing at all except my bags. I had nowhere to go and nowhere to call. Like most people with substance use disorder, I had burned all my bridges with everyone, even family. I had hit today what I call my rock bottom. With a little hope and desperation, I contacted James Place to see what my options were and if there were any beds available immediately. I knew that my next step was probably death. I was able to speak with Courtney Allen, and within 10 minutes, she was at the bus station to pick me up. She brought me to what I call today my safe place. Without the help of her that day, I can't begin to tell you where I would be. I have learned to be grateful and thankful for who I am. Since moving into the residence, I have accomplished so many things that I never had motivation to do before. I am currently enrolled to begin college at UMA as a full-time student. I plan to educate myself about substance use disorder. I am involved in the community, participate in meetings, attend pro-social events, and most importantly, I am regaining trust in family and friends. I also have learned so much about myself and others. I have created a sober support network of people. The housemates have become my brothers. I believe that the bond that's created by some people of the same lifestyle and past is just as great and loving as that of a traditional family. I truly believe that recovery housing is an absolute blessing for most people with substance use disorder. I myself come from being in the criminal justice system for 18 years and tend to strive with structure. James Place has provided me that structure while I learn to live on the outside. I really want this opportunity to be available to my brothers and sisters. We need your help to make a reality. If we can open a new house in Waterville, we can stop telling people we don't have a bed, and maybe one day I can show up 10 minutes after being called to help someone. Donations can be made through Facebook, or checks can be mailed to James Place Recovery Housing at 23 Fowler Street in Augusta, Maine. Thank you.
Man, I don't think I can follow that story. Thank you guys for considering your donation being made to James Place. We can't wait to show you how many lives we can change with your donation.